Oh, I am, but I'm not. Somehow I am not here. Hold on one second, guys. I am just figuring these things out. So stay tuned. Just gonna see if I can fix this so you guys can see me, but I am not a StreamYard user, so I am trying to figure this out on my own here, but it may not happen. So let me try this. There we go. Okay, figured it out. Took me a second. Had to play with it. So today, guys, Hank's not here. I am hijacking his website and doing this on my own. I apologize. I may not be able to see comments. I'm kind of using my phone here to see. So you can comment. If you're on my Facebook page, it should be popping up there, and I may be able to see comments through there, and I will try to do my best to, um, comment as if people have questions. So today I'm really just doing a hodgepodge of things, little bits and pieces of information for you guys. Since we don't have a concrete topic, and it kind of got to me early this morning, I got the message. So I didn't come up with a really solid topic because I wasn't sure if we were coming on or not. So I was just going to do a hodgepodge. You can take some notes because there will be some information to help all of you, um, as well. We're just going to do little tidbits. I'm just going to call it like Tidbit Friday, like little tidbits to help all of you, get through and give you some information to continue helping you through. And then we will probably reconvene either next Friday. I'm not sure if Hank's out of town or not, next Friday or the following Friday. So just stay tuned. One of us will be on next Friday, but reconvening maybe with part 3 of health, wealth, and prosperity, because that's a really cool topic. But today I just wanted to talk about little tidbits of information. So I wrote myself some notes, some tidbits. So from some of the other things that I've talked about. So I want to just kind of really talk a little bit briefly about COVID, because there's a really interesting piece with all this. There's so much fear of where it has been, maybe it's dying down, but the fear of COVID and death. And I made this comment in one of our other videos, where do we stop, um, living because we're so fearful of death? I want to make a point that none of us are escaping this planet. At some point we're going to go. How are we going to go? Nobody knows that. Is it COVID that's going to get us? Is it something else? We don't know these things. So really, guys, just live your life, because we still have to live. And when we are in such fear and anger and all that, it's creating acidity in the body, and it's making you more predisposed to everything out there. We're going to be approaching flu season here coming up. So all this is going to be muddled into one piece. So really, it's live your life to the fullest, because you don't know what day it's going to be, how it's going to be. There's, so many people are just not living, or living very constricted lives because of what's going on with COVID. They did a study on, and I did a little video on this. There's also a lot of anger going around, a lot. I don't even get on Facebook much anymore, um, because I'm seeing so much anger coming through, and people are only talking about a couple things. They're talking about masks, they're talking about, presidency, they're talking and the election, they're talking about anger of not respecting other people, they're talking about, you know, racism and riots. That seems to be the topic. And any time I even make a comment on anything, it's like I get attacked too. So guys, we really need to live and just get back into a peaceful state, because they've done a study on the level of anger that somebody has. They've checked perspiration levels on people, and the pH of the perspiration of a person that's really angry or has a lot of anger is very, very acidic. When the body is in acidic state, you are inviting all kinds of illnesses in. Organs are going to start failing. And then you wonder why, a year or sooner or 10 years down the road, you've got issues going on. This is why, because the body cannot be in an acidic state. And we are raising our acidic states so much right now. And guess what that's doing? You're going to get, if you're so fearful of things, and angry, you're putting yourself closer to leaving this planet a whole lot sooner, and maybe not in such a great way. So, really do everything you can to bring yourself to a point of peace. And if you need help, please reach out to one of us, either Hank or I. We did a really wonderful clinic this past Monday night, and we're hoping to get more people to really calm things down, get in your life to start making shifts, because we did some healing processes on people, getting the body to calm down, getting the system to calm down, and releasing some of these tensions that we have so they don't bother you so much anymore. Everybody wants, peace in their lives. So, really, if you need help with that, we're going to be doing another clinic at some point. We're going to be getting together and figuring out what day. It's probably going to be another evening for a few hours. You can register. And if you're out of town and you can't make it, we are working on a virtual one. So that's something that will be coming up. So stay tuned. We'll focus on that as well. So that's, a little tidbit. These are off the ball topics because these are little tidbits of information to help you. But best ways to heal and what is required. If you are having an issue of any sort, like emotional, physical, your body's taxed, you have a lot of issues, and you've gotten to all these places, you've gotten to your state of being, there's reasons why that has happened. And it has been a culmination of things. So, why does this happen? And once you get there and you are in this state and you're needing help because things have compiled and it's too much, which I see a lot of clients like that. I get lucky a lot sometimes, and there's somebody who just has one issue and we fix it and it's great and it's easy. But when a lot of things have compiled, and I see a lot of difficult patients when things have compiled, all of this has started somewhere and you didn't catch it when it was starting to happen. So when we come to that point where things need to be resolved, the best ways to heal and what's required. Number one, we need an accurate diagnosis and an evaluation. So a lot of times you go to your doctor for that. It does help when we kind of know what's going on in the body, but I do have a really wonderful device, a tool to look into the body to see what's going on and what's causing situations. That's a deeper dive. That's number one, getting a good evaluation, a good diagnosis as to what's going on. Number two, you have to identify and remove the obstacles to healing. Now, that's a tricky piece because this is really important. You won't heal until we remove the obstacles to healing. What falls under that category? It can be things you're not even thinking of. Number one, your emotional state, and we're going to talk about that. Emotions are hands down. Again, I always talk about the umbrella of stress, the whole umbrella of stress. What falls under there? What falls under the umbrella of stress? So many different things. Your emotional status, where you're holding is resentment, anger, fear, doubt, worry. Those all fall under this umbrella of stress or, frustration. You have to remove those things. That's really, really important. Along with that, there's other things you may not think of that need to be removed. Things like dental amalgam fillings, really important. They leak mercury into the system. That causes major toxicity. Electromagnetic frequencies, that's your computer, that's your cell phone. I'm not saying remove these things. We live in a society where we can't remove those things, and it's gonna, technology is gonna keep moving on and getting bigger and better. But ways to protect yourself from the ELFs, EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies that are taxing your endocrine system. And there have been studies on this. You can if you go to YouTube and you type in Senate Bill 637, there's a doctor that discusses this. They are actually sitting in the Senate building, talking to the administration, to the judges, to mitigate not proceeding on with 5G because they've already had so many articles and studies on how 4G is affecting us. And we talked about this as well. So removing or protecting yourself from that. Parasites. We get parasites from so many different places. And when they accumulate and our immune system is compromised, then they're doing things within the body. They increase anxiety, they increase fear. So these are just a couple of things. We have to start removing some of these obstacles to healing, changing your diet, looking at, other factors that are causing a problem and removing those or minimizing those so that you can have a better healing process. And then number three, detoxification and drainage. These are three really important pieces. So number one, identify or get an evaluation, get an accurate diagnosis. Number two, finding out what could potentially be contributing to this condition or conditions. And that's emotions, parasites, electromagnetic frequencies, um, dental fillings, root canals, all these sorts of things. And then number three, then detoxing these things and drainage and tonifying the organs, and people get better. And guys, this is a process. If you really want to get better, it's kind of like, how long have you been taking your medications? You're probably, some of you are on them for life. Um, you don't have to be unless you had an organ removed that you desperately need to fill in whatever that organ does. But a lot of times you do not have to be on these medications for life. You really don't. So how much are you spending on those medications? How much, toxicity is that creating in your body where more things are just forming? So it's kind of like, let's just put in those 6 months. It's the time's going to go by anyway, 6 months to 8 months, maybe even a year to, depending on what you got, to start getting you to feel better. So these are the three things that need to happen. And this is the process that I go through. These are, and emotions, I always start with emotions. And I'm going to talk about that in a second and why that's really, really important. So I'm not really seeing any comments. So I'm hoping this is all working. If you're on my website through my Facebook page, if you type in just a Y, a yes, so that I know this is working, because I'm not sure. So hopefully this is all going okay. But really, these are the three things. So another thing that I want to talk about before I get to some of the energy pieces is eating on the go. How many of you guys eat on the go? It's a very common thing that happens. We are in a society where we are running with a burger in our mouth, running with a granola bar in our mouth, trying to multitask, running around the house with it, trying to shove food in our mouth. I know when I was in residency, we were always doing this. And this is one of the worst things you can do, because what happens when you're eating on the go? You're not in a relaxed state. We're not chewing our food. And when you're eating on the go, the body inside is trying to do all these different things. So it's not concerned with your digestion. It is um, it is viewing you in a stressful state. It is viewing you as almost in a fight or flight response. So it's trying to handle, like, Sarah's running around. Okay, we got to keep her going. So when she's putting food in her mouth, that food is not being digested properly. When the food's not digested properly as we're running around, it gets to sitting in our stomach. And when it's not being digested because the body's not recognizing that this is what it needs to do right now, because it's trying to do everything else, and a release catecholamines because you're running and going, 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 the food sits in our stomach then and it undergoes a putrefaction process. So it starts to emit things like ammonia gas, and that gets into the bloodstream and creates a lot of toxicity. And then you also have this food that's not being digested. My suggestion is make the time to eat. I get up extra early so that I can sit down and eat my breakfast in the morning. Super important. Relaxed, completely relaxed. Um, for lunch, book out the time for the whatever 20 minutes. Give yourself some time to eat, not while you're typing away, or somebody's coming into your office and throwing paperwork on you, or you're driving to a meeting trying to eat while you drive. Book out those 15, 20 minutes, at least 20 or 25 minutes to eat and chew your food 30 times. Like when you put it in your mouth, chew it 30 times. I know that's a lot, but trust me, it's going to have your amylase in your mouth has a greater chance of digesting it. Digestion starts in our mouth. The food will get digested. The body's recognizing that this is what you're doing right now. This is what it needs to be doing. And you will not be getting the toxicity in your system. Same with dinner. Really, just sit down and eat your food. That's all the best I can say. Sit down and eat your food in a relaxed state. Don't be, and if you're really angry, try to calm yourself down too. Like, don't eat while you're angry, because the other thing that starts happening when we're doing things on the go and maybe something traumatic happens, the body's going to associate that food with the trauma that's going on. So, like, say you get bumped in the back of your seat or you get bumped in your car while you're eating a piece of food, you could develop a food allergy because the body has now associated this food with a stressful event. So every time you eat that food, it triggers something in the brain going, oh, this banana, last time we ate it, we were rear-ended. So it's no myth that you're going to start to not feel good after certain foods or develop an allergic reaction almost. So really make the time. I get that life is busy, but book out that time. It's really important. Weight loss, weight loss. Maybe we need to do a whole thing on weight loss because weight loss is a tricky topic. But one of the biggest things, maybe two to three biggest things that add to weight gain, aside from the foods that we're eating, is stress and toxicity, um, and sometimes leptin deficiency. There's a lot that goes into that, a lot that goes into weight loss and exercise. We know we need to exercise, but changing food and toxicity levels. Toxins actually get stored in our fat cells. And so they plug things up and then we can't excrete things. Cortisol, increased cortisol production, which is the stress hormone, will put more weight in your belly and midsection area because it mitigates a lot of other processes in the body. So those two things, really reducing stress, getting enough sleep, and looking at your toxicity level. There's people that have a very difficult time losing weight and they say, I've done everything. It's stress and it's toxicity. There could be so much toxicity in your system from things like electromagnetic radiation because that affects your endocrine glands, so they're not sending the right signals. There could be just metal toxicity sits in your fat cells and it prevents them from releasing. So that's another place that I really look. If somebody's having a really tough time losing weight and they truly eat a great diet and exercise and all their organ systems are functioning properly and we can't figure out what's going on, toxicity is the other place that I look, and stress. And so we really need to work on the stress piece. So that's a little tidbit around weight loss. Osteoporosis, again, another one that's kind of tied into a toxicity level, because what happens? Um, Cadmium, which is a very toxic heavy metal, actually displaces zinc, and zinc is really important in a lot of processes. And oh, thanks, Mike's messaging me. Thanks, Mike. Magic Mike is here. Thanks. Glad that it's picking up. Thanks. So with osteoporosis, it's depleting the zinc, and zinc is really important in bone mineralization in the bone matrix. So when you have, again, if you have a lot of heavy metal toxicity, and there's a way I can look in to see if you have what your heavy metal toxicity is, my device picks it up, as well as we go on to some very simple urine tests that are shipped to your home. You do it at home, you send it to FedEx. It's all in a bag, you do it. It's super simple. But if we look into the heavy metal toxins, these are things that are, and you'll get osteoporosis and your doctor's gonna be like, well, you got osteoporosis, so here's Fosamax or whatever. Let's look at the cause, because you may not even need the Fosamax, so you don't get the side effects of all the Fosamax and the other things that you're taking. So heavy metals are really big nuance as in your body. So getting rid of the heavy metals, and this is where the detoxification and drainage takes place. And there's tinctures that I use to pull these things out of the body. So it's not like you have to undergo a really difficult process. I mean, there's chelation therapy that's IV, and that can be really tough. But there's other ways. The process is a little slower. It's a couple of months, but it's nothing difficult. So definitely looking at toxicity levels is huge in the body, especially in our society right now. Antiperspirants and deodorants. Who is using, and toothpaste. Who is using Crest, Colgate? What's the deodorants out there? Because I don't even use them anymore. Any of the regular name brand, Sure, whatever the name brand deodorants are, these contain antiperspirants and deodorants, the regular name brands that you see at Mark's and Giant Eagle and wherever drugstores you go to. These have aluminum in them. Very toxic. It gets absorbed through your pores in your armpit and gets circulating in the system, and it can get into the brain. What happens? Over accumulation of time of the aluminum, you get things like brain fog. you get diseases that start happening, all sorts of diseases, osteoporosis maybe being one of them. Aluminum is a very, very toxic substance and it can cross into the brain. It's one of those metals that can't cross into the brain and cause all sorts of problems. So I really encourage you to get something called the Crystal. You can get it at Whole Foods or any health food store. It's called the Crystal. Um, and get that, and you can use that as a deodorant. You just wet it and use it. They have some other little ones with a little bit of natural fragrance like lavender. Sorry guys, they have an unscented one too. It will curtail your perspiration, um, but you're going to stop using the aluminum, and the aluminum causes so many problems. It's in vaccines. Aluminum is, I'll just tell you, it's just not good. So really getting rid of your antiperspirants and even looking at your deodorants and making sure that it's not on the back. And it will be on the back. You'll see it as aluminum, listed aluminum. They have variations of it. But if aluminum's back there, not a good product. Same with toothpaste. There's fluoride in toothpaste. Fluoride causes a lot of problems in the brain as well. It's another one that can cross the blood-brain barrier, meaning there's very few things that the brain allows in. It really protects itself, but there's a handful of things that can go through into the brain. This is one of them. Fluoride is really, really, really toxic, causes brain fog, causes, other conditions to start happening, causes gut problems. It creates problems in the whole system. So getting a fluoride-free toothpaste, um, just look on the back or in the front, it'll say fluoride-free. You can go to Whole Foods or again, any kind of um, health food store will have it. It works just as well. I've been using it. My teeth are pretty white, right? Works just as good. So, you know, so eliminate your Colgate's, Crests. What other brands are out there that are named? Those are the biggest ones that I can think of. But eliminate the fluoride-based toothpaste. So get fluoride-free. Colgate, Crest, these guys are not going to make a fluoride-free toothpaste. You go to the dentist, same thing. They're going to give you that, the little toothpaste that they give you. Those are all, and your dentist will tell you, no, no, fluoride's fine. That's a myth. It's not a myth. There's too many articles on this right now. Everything that I've studied in functional medicine when I went to get certified, there's so much for this and on this. There's too many articles. So I hate to say, sorry, don't believe your dentist. Fluoride is not good for you. It's not. So fluoride is also in your water, in your tap water. I did a video on that. And Hank and I talked about going on www.ewg.org. You punch in your zip code, it will tell you all the chemicals that is in the water in your area. You'll be astounded. And fluoride, really high levels. So really drinking reverse osmosis water, spring water, make sure you study your source, and get spring water that is not tap water, because they do that in the stores. I've heard of horror stories of that. So make sure you're using reverse osmosis. If at worst case, if you don't have a refrigerator with a filter on it, get a Brita at worst. At best, get a whole home filtration system. Yes, it's a little pricey, but it's going to filter all the water throughout your whole home so that you can drink your tap water, because all the water is filtered throughout your whole home. You have to install it. Crystal Clear is a good brand. Pristine is a good brand. Crystal Clear is with K, so it's Crystal with a K and Clear with a K. You just go online, you can research those two, Pristine and Crystal Clear. They run anywhere from, I think, like 1,700 to 2,000. I know it's a price, but it's a one-time thing and you're done. And you have to change the filters, I don't know, every couple of years, and those are not expensive. And then your whole home is filtered. So what's happening there? When you're taking a shower, that's the other place. Don't forget, we got pores on our arms, right? We are ingesting we're not ingesting it through our mouth, but it's coming in through our pores. So sometimes people come to me and I put them on the device and I'm like, halogens are coming up for you, chloride's coming up for you. But they're like, we filter our water. Yes, you're drinking filtered water, but where else are you getting it? And the other place you could be getting it is through your shower, when you take a bath. These are other places that it's getting into your system. And when it gets to really high levels, it shows up on my device and that's creating a problem within you. So really, if you can swing it, do the whole home filtration system, and then you'll have everything covered. You're covered then. But if you can't, at least just get a Brita or a zero water and then cook with that water as well. So if you're heating up your pot of water to boil your noodles or whatever, or your coffee or whatever, water, use that water with that too. Don't just drink, cook with it too, okay? But that doesn't mean you're not getting it in other places. So that's that. What else did I want to talk about? Let's talk a little bit about some lines and get into the energy piece. How many of you like to say it's so hard? This is going to be so hard. Like I started this morning and I was like, Hank, sent me a message on how to do this. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. I've never used StreamYard. This might be really hard. And I'm like, nope, cut cords to that. You're going to do this. When you say it's so hard, it's going to be hard. When you say this will be so hard, it's going to be hard. Let's avoid using the word hard, because some people come to me and say, I'm not giving up my coffee, that's too hard. I'm not doing that, that's too hard. I'm going to, we make suggestions for people's lives to help them, in certain places. I don't know if I could do that. That's too hard. The second you say that, you are creating that reality. And it is going to feel like you are pulling rocks and you may not even do what you need to do to get better physically, emotionally, etc. This is really important. So when you say it's going to be hard, this is so hard, it's going to be hard. Avoid saying that line and just say, okay, I'm just going to try it, and breathe your way through it like I did this morning. And we're on. It may not be perfect, but we're on. Um, so yeah, so that's the other thing to do is don't say it's so hard. Yes, thanks, Mike. I said that this morning. I've been saying this line every day, and I encourage all of you to do it too. All of life comes to me with ease and glory. 10 times every morning, 10 times every night. Say it as you're going to bed. So when you go to sleep, that's what's running in your brain. I do it, first thing when I get up in the morning, I just lay there and I say that 10 times and I really just picture the sunshine and I'm like, it's going to be good. Everything's coming to me with ease and glory. Because if you try this for 30 days, just try it for 30 days and don't just go, all life comes to me with ease and glory. All life. Don't do that. Just really just jump into it. Like, what if things can really change and get really good? All life comes to me with ease and glory. All life comes to me with ease and glory. All life comes to me with ease and glory. Say that in the morning, say that at night as you're laying in bed, it's dark, you're falling asleep, and just try to feel a little bit of joy. Like, what would my life look like if it really changed and got really good and all things resolved and solved? Picture that when you go to sleep and when you get up. Okay, try that for 30 days. See how that goes. Let me know. But yeah, don't avoid using this is going to be so hard. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Let's get into the energy piece a little bit and congestion, because I did a whole video on that. And if you go through all my videos on my Facebook page, I don't know, it's probably like last summer, really. But it'll be titled The Reason Why We Get Sick, I think, or What Happens in the Body, something like that. The Real Reasons Why We Get Sick. It's on my YouTube page as well. The reason why sickness happens. This is where everything starts. And Hank and I talk about this a lot. It starts out here. So when you've got all these problems now, yes, they've started because of some toxicity, but again, toxicity can kind of be overridden a little bit, because I know people that are not doing super well health-wise, but they are so happy. Actually, it doesn't really go together, because most people might have one or two problems and their health is actually pretty good. And when I've talked to them, they've always been really, really good. They've just been positive people. So there's something to be said about that. So when I talk about congestion starts happening in the body, and that's what Hank and I did on Monday really quick. It was 15 minutes. It wasn't an hour session, which is really the best to do, because there's a lot of layers for people, but it's a start. So this is what we did. We started cleaning out people's systems so that good can start making its way in. So it was a starter. But When you have years and years of congestion of something that happened way back, some little trauma, and then 10 years down the road or 3 years down the road, all of a sudden cancer shows up and you're like, cancer doesn't run in my family. This is one of the reasons. There's Dr. Hahnemann, who talks about tumors and why they form. He himself had an instance where his son died, and within 2 years, he had a tumor form. And this is what starts to happen um, is when a trauma hits us really hard and time stops, it's a congestion. It's like a meteor that just hits you, and you're like, oh, that's a congestive piece that needs to be cleaned out. Otherwise, it will work its way into the system. When really difficult things start happening in people's lives, then these things accumulate and they cause something I call congestion. It's kind of like a congested nose. You can't breathe except it's in your energy field. And so we have a lot of chakras. Your basic chakras that most people are used to dealing with are 7, but there's actually more. There's actually 12. And we have one above our head, we have one in our forehead, we have our Ajna chakra in here, we have our throat chakra, we have our heart chakra, we have our solar plexus, we have our navel, we have our sex chakra, we have another chakra called the main men, we have chakras in our spleen, we have chakras in our liver, we have chakras in our, let's see, joints, like right here, right here. There's a ton of chakras in your body. And so a lot of times when we just clear out the chakra where the pain is, the pain will release, as well as we got to work a little bit on the trauma of whatever it is that let that in. But let's talk a little bit about some of these chakras and what happens when they're congested. I went through a lot of them, or I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot and there's a lot of information under them, but I just want to give you an example of what starts happening when certain chakras are overactivated or underactivated. Underactivated meaning they don't have enough energy. Overactivated meaning they're congested and there's too much. Because you can be depleted in a chakra or you can be congested in a chakra. Majority of us are congested in a chakra. So that means there's just too much, and you'll feel it. You're like, there's just too much. So the way I describe a congestion is kind of like if you're looking at a motor and it's spinning, chakras spin in a certain direction and they kind of go like that. It's kind of like a fan. And when a fan is spinning, right, it's spitting out its air, cooling you off. But what if you throw a pretty large sized pebble in that fan? What's going to happen to the propellers? It goes and eventually it may stop or slow down. Chakras never stop, they never stop spinning, but they may slow down. And when they slow down or don't do what they need to be doing, they get congested. And when we get that congestion, it starts to, the chakras kind of it's our organs are in front and then the chakras are kind of in back. So when they start slowing down, the organ that's associated with that chakra starts to kind of do wonky things. So that's where I want to go over a little bit of some of these chakras. I'm not going to go through all of them, but what starts to happen when some of these chakras get over or underactivated, if they're depleted or if they're too congested, meaning a pebble's been thrown in the fan and it's starting to, the blades are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or they're running really slow. Something's going on. So I'll start with the crown chakra and we'll go through some of these because these are important up to the solar plexus, but there's more. So the crown chakra is up here and you can think of it as your crown. When a crown chakra is overactivated, meaning it's congested or there's too much energy going on up here, and we can have different levels, like here may be congested, here may be congested, maybe your solar plexus is depleted or underactivated. When they're off and things aren't running, this is where the body system starts to malfunction. So things like being ungrounded. So you're really spacey, kind of like, oh, whatever, I don't remember where my keys are. What did I do? What did I do with that? Stuff's going on. I don't, you're not processing. That's an overactivated chakra. You fall easily. People that tend to fall easily, get off balance, they're ungrounded. So we got to work on the crown chakra, and that may take a couple of sessions to clear that out and balance that energy to where that chakra needs to be. Falling easily, letting others take control, These are a couple of things that you find that others just kind of, I don't know, you're very passive. You just let others kind of do whatever. You know, that's over congestion and overactivation of the crown chakra. There's more underneath that. I didn't list all of those, but the other chakra, there's your forehead. I'm not going to go through that one, but the ajna in there, in between your eyes, there's called the ajna chakra. That one, if it's overactivated, um, a person tends to be overpowering. Like you just feel like you need to tell people what to do. Your your oomph is in there. Not that that's always a bad thing, but it has to be done appropriately. If you found feeling that you need to overpower people, talk over people, make your point, you know, this chakra here has too much congestion. It's overactivated. When you're being inconsiderate, you find that you just have to have things your way. This is overactivated. What else? Slicing others, feeling like you really need to cut other people down. Again, this is overactivated. When this chakra is off, it's actually associated to cancer. So this is and all kinds of tumors. So this is a place where I really work to clean things out and sweep things out. So another thing, sometimes um, one of my mentors taught me a little technique when you start to have a lot of negative thinking, a lot of, you know, you feel like you're in your head a lot, just sweep it and throw it, sweep it, throw it, because this energy here is getting really congested. Okay. Um, so if that's you, you don't have to admit to it, but just, you know, um, take note of it. Like, gosh, I really do kind of tell people what to do. I really overpower. Um, a strong will is kind of located there too. Not that a strong will is bad. It's not a bad thing, but you gotta keep that in place. Okay. Your heart chakra. We know where our heart is. Um, there's there's a heart chakra in the general area, and your heart itself has a chakra too. So it's almost like two in there. What happens there? Tendency to love everybody too much. So this is an overactivated chakra, really a little too big. Sometimes people, I need to make it bigger for people because they're really squashed. But really, if your heart chakra is overactivated, that's not a great thing either. Um, so if a tendency to love others a little too much, you get walked on, you're a doormat, you're not setting your boundaries, you know, those sorts of things. That's an overactivated heart chakra. And your heart is important and you want it big, yes, but you know, you got to keep that in a certain width. And chakras actually have, I measure the energy. I can feel how big they are, how small they are. They need to be a certain size. And so I can kind of feel that. I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. You want to keep those balanced. What happens? Solar plexus, that's our stomach region. And that's the biggest one, probably the heart. And this one's probably the biggest one of them all. We have chakras in front, we have chakras in back. So we have a front heart, we have a back heart. Back heart will be stuck with a lot of like past hurts, past places people have done things to us. We hold that back there. So I clean the back of the heart and the front of the heart because they're both important. Um, but the belly, the solar plexus, again, it's in front and it's in back. So when it's out pretty far and it's out pretty wide, and I can feel that, it's really congested. This is a lot of the place where we hold our stress, where we hold all of our negative emotions. So when it's overactivated, somebody's very emotional. There's lots of drama. There's rage, there's anger, the frustration um, at the smallest things. So this is where people develop things like acid reflux. They develop diabetes. They develop what other things can I think of? Any abdominal, you know, gallbladder issues, pancreas issues, any organs that are in this area get affected. So the solar plexus is really important, as is the ajna. The ajna mitigates a lot of energy through the rest of the system, as does the solar plexus. So the solar plexus is one of the first places I work. So when we did our little clinic, I did the solar plexus first and I did the heart. And if I had a little bit, if we had extra time, which we didn't have a whole lot of extra time, but if I felt something else needed to be cleaned up really quick, I did that. But there's layers and layers on the solar plexus. And sometimes that energy is heading out the back door. I mean, that's how much has accumulated. So it takes like cleaning, 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 sweep it, energize it, cleaning, cleaning. There's a lot in there. solar plexus needs a lot of work on a lot of all of us, really. So really, you want to clean it daily. But I know we'll be teaching a course, I think, at some point on how to do this so you can do this on yourself. But it's really important to clean the solar plexus. So focus and really, I work a lot there because it hits so many different organ systems. Let's talk. So we'll stop at the solar plexus. If we go on, there's the navel, and there's the sex chakra. The sex chakra has a lot to do with the navel. Also has to do with belly issues, mother issues. Um, it will work its way and cause different symptoms in the body, in the belly as well. The sex chakra has to do more with weakness in the legs, circulatory issues. I'm not going to get into those. We'll stop at the solar plexus. Going on to what happens when a chakra is underactivated, which a lot of times we are mostly, I think, overactivated and congested versus depleted, but sometimes we do get depleted because of life things that happen. So when the crown chakra up here is underactive, meaning it doesn't quite have enough energy, we have a weak connection to God, to source. We don't tap in. There's a lot of self-doubt. So in these cases, I have to put some energy on and give it some energy and then measure it to see if it's gotten a little bit bigger. If your Ajna chakra here doesn't have enough energy, meaning underactivated, um, the will for doing things is really decreased, meaning you're kind of like, I don't feel like it. I'm not going to do this. I'm just not. I'm just bored. You don't have the motivation. I can describe that as a lack of motivation. When your throat, and there's more underneath these, but I think these were kind of important pieces. When your throat chakra is, and we didn't talk about, I missed the throat chakra, overactivated throat chakra is a whole other story, but underactivated throat chakra, um, you constantly have sore throats. So when you can't speak your truth, and this is sore throats, I think goes both ways, overactivated and underactivated. But if you can't speak your truth and things start to get stuck here, then you get congested. If there's a challenge speaking up, you don't know that you want to speak up. This affects your throat chakra. If you're worrying a lot, this will sit in your throat chakra as well. We make a lot of decisions from here as well. So this is a really important chakra to clear out. And if it's congested or if it's depleted, it needs to be brought back up to speed so that the fan runs the way it needs to run. Okay. Heart chakra. If you have an underactivated heart chakra, not enough, you kind of have sunken in shoulders. This is another thing. When you see people that are really hunched over, like the older ladies, they have been protecting themselves. So they are protecting their solar plexus, they're protecting their heart. They need more energy in these areas. They need a good cleaning in those areas. Heart chakra that's underactivated, you cave in a lot to people's needs, um, those sorts of things. Solar plexus, if it's underactivated, you have a weakness of being, a lot of self-pity. We need to bring you back up to speed. So the solar plexus is really important. So these are just examples of, looking at the time here, these are just examples of what starts to happen within the system. And we talked about this in one of our other sessions. What kind of energies sit in these areas and cause this fan to not work so well? And sometimes areas are underactivated, sometimes areas are overactivated. Maybe this is underactivated, solar plexus is overactivated. It becomes, quite a learning process. But really just cleaning the health rays, cleaning the energy around somebody. So what I do is I clean the energy around, I clean some health rays, then I get into the chakras and I start cleaning. That's what I did Monday night for people. It's a start. It's a start to release some things so the person can start to see a little more clearly. So this is where we work in a lot of these chakras and cleaning things up. There's still the basic chakra in the back. There's the main men, which if the main men is affected, your blood pressure is going to be off. That means you can't hold enough energy. Let's see, your liver holds a lot of anger. If you're over congested, so if your solar plexus has had too many layers, it's going to spill over into the spleen. If the spleen's affected and it's congested, your immune system and the whole thing just starts going. So a good cleanup and a handful of sessions of cleaning up, the body will start to get better. It's a hands down thing. It happens. Okay, so that's a bit on hodgepodge on energy pieces and describing what's happening in the chakras since we did this clinic Monday, and a little tidbit on what starts to happen in the body when these fans called chakras in our body are not turning at the speed and at the width that they need to be spinning and doing their job. It affects the organ systems. All right, so um, talking a little bit more about the cures that are out there. There's many, many cures out there, guys, for so many different conditions. Um, there's a little saying by Bruce Lipton that he posted the other day. Instead of looking outside of the box, get rid of the box. Because I always say, look outside of the box for cures. Um, Doctors are there. Yes, we have a lot of knowledge. We do our best, but I'm finding more and more that when people go to doctors, um, they start to get to an area of a plateau where it's like, I'm on this, I'm on this, and I'm not getting any better. I had a client yesterday that came in just for a consultation, and I see what needs to change. Sometimes it's a little bit of work to get the person to change, but there were quite a bit of things that needed to change. Um, but at the root of it all, her husband wasn't giving her, I think, the attention that she needed. She had 12 children, 12 children. And I started to see why she had 12 children and 24 grandkids. I mean, that's a lot, but they're all off. And the oldest, I think, was 49, gone out of the nest. Husband doesn't really give her what she needs. She has had multiple back surgeries, heading for a hip surgery to repair something, diabetes. What else did she have? There was something, there were kidney issues going on there. That's a lot to fix. But can it be fixed? Yeah, totally. Is that going to take me about 6 to 8 months? Yeah. But then you're better. You're a whole lot better. Blood sugars were super high, but tracked it back and I'm like, where and how did all this start? And I found the source and I knew what needed to change. There was a need for love, there was a need for attention and acknowledgement. And that we get to that and start unwinding that. When I start with my clients, I always start to look for these things. If it's especially if it's a complicated case, where did all these things start? Because the body really, if we're in a good vibrational energy, it deteriorates a heck of a lot faster. Yes, we will leave the planet at some point, but when we start taking on too many things, when there's these deep rooted little things that start creeping up over time and aren't dealt with, this is what we end up with. And so this is what needs to start. This is where we need to start. And also helping people find a purpose. Because when you find your purpose, wow, it's like you just feel like, wow, this is awesome. You start to feel awesome. I'm really good at helping people find their purpose. I see what they're really good at. We chat a little bit, we start figuring things out. So there's many cures out there, and this is one thing we start with. Tracking back, it's all the first thing is looking at the mindset and what happened there to kind of get things off track and get some of these, fans that aren't working so well in our system. And then we kind of dive into the physical. So this is one place I start with this in the beginning, helping you kind of find a purpose, helping you find a way, a better way for you in your life, and cleaning up some of the mind pieces so that it can release in the body. And then you're like, oh, we can go much faster. But healing requires us to synchronize. I like this line, and so I'll read it. It's from a quote from a book. Healing requires us to synchronize our bodies and our minds and using the elements of nature. What do I mean by that? I'm going to get into parts and pieces of that with the mind, the earth, the air, the water, the fire, and cleaning the parts that are within that. And I'll give you some tips. You might want to write some of these things down because these things are things you can do on your own, um, starting now, simple things to start making changes if you're obviously not working with me, but you always can because that's what I'm here for. Um, so, really, healing requires us to synchronize our bodies and our minds. It's using the elements of nature. We're going to use the elements of nature as a place to start. But this has to happen. And this is why um, I have another client that the doctors really don't know what to do with her anymore. I know what to do. There's some resistance, not moving because she's resistant to the things that need to happen. But the doctor's like, we just, every doctor she goes to, we don't know what else to do for you. We don't know what else to do for you. Recurrent infections don't know what to do for you. I can see what needs to happen, but we need to align these two things because without that, you often spin in a cycle because things have worked their way in. Yes, we need to work on those. Yes, toxicity exists. Yes, we walk out the door and we're already hit with toxicity. But if you really have a stronger mindset, it's less likely to work its way into the system to an extensive level, and your body can kind of clean things up better. So the better your energy is, the better. And I know things get off. So let's go over the mind. And this is where we start with bullet points. So of using nature and doing some synchronization processes. The mind, removing negative thinking. Yeah, easier said than done, right? Replacing power statements. So you got to start getting more aware, and awareness is key to finding where you're starting to think negatively, catching yourself, and you can sweep it and throw it. You can do something like that, or saying, nope, not buying into that. Getting a power statement going, just like all of life comes to me with ease and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and glory. And you can toss in there, all of life and health comes to me with ease and glory. All of life and health and abundance come to me with ease and glory. Saying it over and over 30 days, really start believing it. That's going to start helping a process going. Stick in a power statement. I have lots that I use. I have lots that I give my clients when they start working with me, things to say every day, and not just saying it home, oh, that comes to me. No, really just believing it and visualizing yourself in that place, because your mind can go there. Your mind can picture, like, what would it be if you were completely negative free, negative thought free? What would it be like if you had no pain? Your mind can go there. It can visualize that. It can feel it because you've experienced that somewhere in your past before, right? So removing that, replacing with a power statement that you could put your mind out there. Number two, the earth. Removing sugar, removing all processed food completely, especially if you've got a lot of health issues, adding organic foods, adding minerals, adding digestive support. 21 days. 21 days to start making a habit. High fructose equals increased insulin production, or I'm sorry, increased insulin resistance. That will lead to a fatty liver, that will lead to damaged intestines, that will lead to headaches, that will lead to different effects in the body. So really important. So removing sugar, and when I'm talking sugar, I'm not meaning fruits. Eat good fruits, buy organic fruits as much as you can. And if cost is an issue, there's Walmart, there's Time Market, all these places. There's all these they have organic. So there's no excuse. You can get in there and get things at a cheaper cost. Eliminating processed foods, and adding minerals, and I have minerals, trace mineral sources that are awesome that I can get you, because the body needs minerals. We're always depleted of minerals, sadly. Food is your best source for that, but sometimes our soils are just not so great anymore. So I know we talk a lot about food is medicine, and it is. We just have to have more quantities of it because the allowances and what's in the food is not what it used to be. But still, I want people to focus on getting it from food. Everything else is synthesized. We still have to make it in a lab. So it's, not as great, I think, as the food itself. Body recognizes food first. Getting digestive support. There's certain things I can give you to help you with that, and avoiding anything with high fructose. So look at the back of containers, and if it says fructose on there, really it's a processed food. So you shouldn't be buying it anyway. But if you absolutely must get something, fructose, eliminate that. Okay. Um, Next, going and do this for 21 days. 21 days starts a habit. It starts a change. It starts to get the body to shift. And what I will tell you, because some of you know or don't know that I compete, for bodybuilding shows, I have to give up sugar for a really long time. Like I don't get my little treat of ice cream once a week. I get nothing for like months on end. And so I will tell you, after 21 days, the sugar cravings actually start to go away. But the second you reintroduce a processed item, you'll start craving it. It's a fascinating thing that happens. So get your little calendar, mark off the X day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, get to 21. You'll start to see that some of these cravings for the processed food that you've been eating start to go away. Okay, going on to earth, or we did earth, I'm sorry, air. Um, Inactivity produces excess CO2 in the body. When we hold our breath for too long, and we do this a lot sitting on a computer, we increase CO2 in the body that causes acidity in the body. So adding indoor plants can help CO2 as well. They chew up CO2, or moving closer to nature if you can. Really important, spending a lot of time in nature. That will pull off CO2. Um, let's see what falls up, what else underneath there. Diaphragm breathing. So I teach a technique of 6-3 breathing. We breathe in for the count of 6, and your belly should come out. You hold at the top for 3 and breathe out for the count of 6 really slow. Okay, and so you breathe in for the count of 6, belly comes out, hold at the top for 3, and then breathe out for the count of 6, and you hold at the bottom for 3. Do a couple of rounds of that, deep breaths of oxygen, and getting that, expelling that extra CO2 within your system. Exercise, super, super, super important. And I know sometimes it's tough to get that wheel going of exercise, but once you start, believe me, after 21 days, if you can get through like the first week, you're going to be on a roll. You're going to start feeling better. It's going to become a habit. Totally. Water, removing fluorinated water. We talked about that, and chlorinated water and dead water. Dead water is a whole separate topic because water is a challenging thing. There's various theories on what kind of water to drink. There's a device that almost looks like a blender that you can create structured water. Structured water, it kind of like spins it really fast and does a couple things to it. So you can look up structured water, and you can look up devices for structured water. Um, that helps the cells, but that's not ideal for everybody. So really doing spring water, don't do alkaline water. It's not, your body doesn't know what to do with alkaline water so much. It will get into the system because it depends on what's going on within your body. If you're too alkaline, if you're too acidic, if you put alkalinity in there, it sits there because the body's like, we have to bring this to a pH level that's accommodating to what's going on in the system. So it kind of has to do stuff with that water. So just drinking spring water, drinking filtered water, super important. Um, and drinking structured water, if you can do that, that's great. You have to get a blender. It's this like device that looks like a blender that creates structured water, and that's a live water that has minerals and structure. But for now, really spring water, and make sure it's filtered. Really important, and cooking with that too, like I said. Fire, removing medications. Yeah, a lot of us are on a lot of medications. Medications, I'm not a big fan. I use a whole lot of other things homeopathically um, to or use in place of medications. You don't need to be on half of the medications that you're on. And I'm not poo-pooing medicine. That's where I come from. I've given a lot of medications, things like Advil, ibuprofen, Advil, same thing. Tylenol, very damaging to the insides of the stomach and cardiovascular system, and putting you more predisposed for ulcers, for cardiovascular events. Liver damage, Tylenol, really, really taxing on the liver. People don't even know that. And so then all of a sudden, you've been taking Tylenol for 4 years or consistently for pain. And then all of a sudden, you start developing something, and you're like, oh man, now I got this condition. Where the heck did this come from? You're never going to associate it to that, but that's what your liver just got congested. And so it couldn't work. We have this saying in our biofeedback community that a mentor of mine taught me, that if you have a sliver of a liver and a hypothalamus is in here, kind of if you go through, it's in the center, it sends signals to the whole body. So this is the whole HPA axis. It sends signals, and if those signals are not proper, things start going off, and your liver detoxifies everything. Everything has to pass through the liver. Parasites, viruses, medications, homeopathics, everything has to go through there, our toxins. It has a huge job. So if you have those two things, we can fix a lot of things. If you don't, yeah, we're in a little bit of trouble. And your gut, really important. But everything has to pass through there. So removing medications that have a lot of metals in them have a lot of toxicity that interact. Doctors don't even know the level of interaction. They don't even spend the time to research the interaction between medications. I do spend that time to look at what medications people are on, what are the side effects, what other things do they interact with. You'd be shocked. And so all these problems start and we don't know the cause, and then we put more medications on it. So I really work on removing as many medications as we can, unless there's something you absolutely need to be on. Again, not poo-pooing medicine, but you know, sometimes we need something, we've had an organ removed, or we need something because we'll die. Okay, then let's just limit it to the things that we absolutely need, and get rid of some of the things that we don't. Um, Increasing sun exposure, really great for the body. Watching sunsets, spending as much time in the sun as you can, really, really great for the body, does a whole lot. Seeing a chiropractor, that's an important piece that people don't even think about. Here's why. If your spine is not aligned and there's discs that are out of whack, and our spine starts from the brain and goes on down, but there's nerves that come around and then they innervate the organs in front. And I wish I had a great picture. I have a great picture at the office of this. If there's something off in the spine and that nerve coming around, and that, because this is how everything communicates, we have to have some sort of signal that sends to the brain, hey, I'm hungry, or hey, I have something going on, in my whatever pain. These signals all have to go up to the brain somehow. This is how we do it, through the nerves. The nerves come around from the spinal cord, they hook in to an organ, at certain levels, like the thoracic region in the center of your back, comes around and hooks into a lot of your, like, gallbladder, your stomach, your liver. These are all innervated by nerves. It's amazing. It's an amazing intricate system that sends signals up above. So if there's a disc that's pressing on some nerve, or a nerve's been cut, that signal's not going to the brain any longer, or not conducting properly. So then the organ's going, what the heck am I supposed to do? I don't know, am I supposed to squeeze right now or not? So it's really important to get a chiropractic adjustment. So especially if you have disc issues, to making sure that at least that signal is coming through as best as we can get it, because sometimes that even corrects the organ. That's really important. If you have a lot of pain, if you have a lot of discomfort, CBD, cannabis, it's hard. The actual cannabis is hard to get in Ohio. We're not one of those states that, unless you have a card, to really get that yet. Like in other states, you can't get that quite as easily. But adding cannabis, if you have, or CBD, and I do sell some really good brands at the office, to help with, pain if we are trying to work off of medications. There's other things that I use to work with that. So those are a couple of tips. If you follow these for, like 3 months, let's see how your health changes. Just these things, Let's see how your health changes, but you got to follow kind of these things to a T. And there's more that goes under these categories. These are just basic summaries that I kind of jotted down. So I hope this is helpful. Sorry that we were a little off today, but we kind of winged it. And Mark is on here. I'm just checking my comments on Facebook. Mary's on, and hi, Mark. I'm kind of checking things late, but hopefully this was helpful. And next week, hopefully, we will be back on and up to par. So till we see you next week, make it a great weekend. Try some of these things out. If you need any support, you can email me at drkdrk@ihmohio.com. We'll keep you attuned of our next healing session on an evening, our healing clinic, as we call it. It's a little clinic, and we're here to help. So have a great weekend. Get out in the sun, do some deep breathing, eliminate your processed sugar. Think about some of your chakras and where you're maybe having some of these tools. Magnetic water auto, posted magnetic water. I'm not sure about magnetic water auto. I don't have a ton of information on that, and I don't want to comment on something I don't know a ton about. I would really stick to spring water. If you can get the structured water, that's good too. Distilled water, I want to comment on that. Distilled water is kind of dead water in a way. It has no minerals. So if you're drinking distilled water, you want to add minerals. Um, what else? Great job. Thanks, Mark. Glad that you were here. Hope this info was helpful. And if you have any other questions, please feel free. You can comment and I'll get to some of those questions if you have questions, or email me. Or if you decide you want to get some more help, I'm happy to help. So we will chat next time. Until we chat next time, take good care.